Dun, 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 dun. And we are going live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. All right, we have plenty to talk about today. A bunch of smaller news that we're gonna get into, not like big news like last week, but a bunch of interesting stuff. And Seth has some personal news in these EV fleet happening. His personal EV fleet is changing, so we're gonna get into that too later on, and how that's gonna happen. We don't have a sponsor this week, but we can remind you that the last week of June and the first week of July, we're going to be in Kansas, in Topeka, Kansas, for the Electrek Solar Race Challenge, which is a very cool event where we, not we, but a bunch of student engineers in different schools all around the country and Canada too. Is there an international team beyond Canada in the US?
I think there is another team. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's somebody from like Europe or something.
Okay. But mainly the US and Canada, they are building solar cars or solar vehicles and racing them to test their efficiency. And it's something that has been happening for years, and a lot of companies in the EV world, especially Tesla, has recruited for them. So it's a very cool thing that Electrek is sponsoring right now, and you can come check it out. It's over a whole week, the end of June, and early July in Heartland Raceway at Topeka, Kansas. Check it out. All right. Let's jump in. I'm going to share my screen real quick so that we can get to the news. There you go. All right, we're going to start out with this thing that earlier this week has created some rumors, some speculation, and that's the Cybertruck with a very cool looking camouflage, I got to say. It's a wrap job, and we've seen plenty of Cybertruck prototypes over the last 3 years, basically, but more so obviously over the last year as Tesla gets closer to production. And Tesla never bothered to camouflage the car. Now, camouflage is something very common in the auto industry for prototypes ahead of production, but not so much for Tesla. Tesla virtually never used it, other than more recently for the Model 3, but that makes a little bit more sense because Model 3 is a car that is currently in production. Tesla doesn't want to have it's the Osborne effect, right? Is that it? Yeah.
Yep.
The Osborne effect, where when a new version of a product is coming or a new product altogether can affect the sales of the existing products currently in sales. So they want to hide that stuff. And Tesla's camouflage on that new Model 3 is not traditional camouflage that you see on other automakers. And the main reason that Tesla does differ from the rest of the industry there, I would assume, is because Tesla actually stick pretty close to a prototype unveiled and the production version. Like from the outside, there's not that much thing that changes. So Tesla doesn't bother camouflaging them. While the rest of the industry, the prototypes that they unveil versus the production version a year or two later can be wildly different. So it makes a little bit more sense to keep something new for the launch or whatever. But now, Tesla showed up this week with this prototype, Cybertruck prototype with camouflage, and it's bringing a speculation that there's two theories here. The first one is Tesla is putting camouflage on it right now because this is the production version, and they want to camouflage the production version for whatever reason, even though it looks pretty much like the prototypes we've seen, which is with a cool camo on. The other theory, and the one that I personally subscribe to, is Tesla. And it might be a stretch too, but I feel like it's less of a stretch than the one that I just presented to you. Tesla might be testing wraps on the Cybertruck, either testing them for longevity, just exposure testing and all that, or maybe just factory wrap testing, like the actual process, and then this one has made it out of the shop. So we know that the Cybertruck is not going to be offered in any other color. It's going to be stainless steel only. And the way to change it, because you're going to have 1 million of these trucks around in a few years, if you don't want them to all look the same, you're going to have to wrap them. And there's a possibility, Tesla opened the possibility of it, though they didn't confirm it, that they might offer to wrap themselves. And that would be obviously a big deal because it would lower the cost of wrapping the car. Even though I would probably assume that the Cybertruck is going to be in the easier side, maybe in our wrapping, or the sharp edge more difficult to wrap than the
You know,
rounded.
I think because they're flat, I think that might be easier, but honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna think the same as you, but now that I think of it, maybe like cutting a sharp edge on a car might be more difficult to wrap. Maybe if we have any wrapping expert in the chat right now, you can comment on that. But I just confused myself for a second. But I wouldn't be mad at that. And personally, I think this wrap looks pretty cool. Like it's like of a more modern camo. So okay, there's a third theory. So also people say that Tesla is testing the Cybertruck for the army or for military use. But let's be honest, that's
No.
that's out of the three theory. That's my last one. Also, we recently reported for the first one the theory that this is a production version. We did report that Tesla doesn't plan to have release candidates of the Cybertruck until the end of August, until around the last week of August. So I would be surprised if this is anywhere near. Well, I mean, the prototypes that we're seeing are pretty close to production version, but it's not a release candidate just yet.
I have a fourth theory.
Go ahead.
This is a deep fake. And if you scroll to the bottom, there's like a 3-year-old Instagram.
Oh yeah, you're showing that.
That looked exactly, not exactly, but
I don't slang up bang. I just
Can I play it? I don't know how to remove the sound on this thing. Well, yeah, it is the very similar design of camo, but it is a render.
Yeah, that's a render.
And this one, even though the Cybertruck in real life kind of looks like a render, it has been spotted like 2 or 3 times, and I think 4 times even this week. So it would be quite the feat to coordinate all that CGI.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's exciting. Like, if you were to get a Cybertruck, you think you'd just leave it stainless steel, or would you wrap it?
I don't know. I guess it depends on how much the wrap costs, and if you don't really need protection on stainless steel, I guess.
Yeah, you don't need it, but I think my main concern will literally be like there's just too many. Like maybe not a year from now, but like 2, 3, 4 years from now, it's going to be way too many stainless steel Cybertrucks out there. No.
Yeah, I guess it would be cool to differentiate it a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's easy and not crazy expensive, it would be kind of cool to do.
It's going to be a few $1,000s for sure. It's kind of like the Tesla's paint upgrades, or
right.
We can maybe do like the Electrek color grade.
Yes.
We'll do something like that,
and we'll write it off.
All right. Next news is Tesla is offering free superchargers, 3 months of free supercharging actually on new Model 3. Inventory new Model 3. Again, that's always the difference with Tesla lately. When it does an incentive on the Model 3, it's on a new inventory vehicle and not on the custom orders, which leads us to believe that Tesla is liquidating the new inventory ahead of the refresh coming. And now adding to that is Tesla put a deadline on this one. So it's a new inventory orders delivered by June 30th. Of course, that'll also match the end of the quarter. But this time, but it's also just for new inventory. So there's still some waiting on the refresh side of things. So we were already suspecting that the refresh was coming right at the beginning of next quarter. So this is adding to speculation. Obviously, 3 months of free supercharging as an incentive is nothing quite significant. Like, unless you're a heavy supercharger user, like this is worth a few $100 of incentives. All right, this is an interesting one that came out today. Tesla has filed a new patent for a steer-by-wire system. And we've been reporting for that for a little bit, but this is the first time that a patent has showed up. So in 2020, I found out that Tesla was building a team in Austin, a team for a new motor and gear team. And the specific goal was to develop a new steer-by-wire system. And then a year later, Elon confirmed it amid like some of the controversy around the yoke steering wheel. When the yoke steering wheel came out in 2021, and people complained about the turning ratio being the same as the round steering wheel, even though it's not ideal because of the shape of the wheel, that Tesla is working on a steer-by-wire progressive steering that would be adapted for the yoke, but he said it was still a few years away. Now, the Cybertruck has been rumored to be the first vehicle of Tesla to get this steer-by-wire. And now it's getting a little bit closer to reality with Tesla having this patent file that shows that they have a technology for it. You have a little drawing here that shows the system. And unlike some of the other systems that still rely on mechanical linkage as backup, Tesla has like 2 electronic systems instead. So if one fails, the other takes over. So they have like 0 mechanical linkage. It's all just steer-by-wire. And they also added that the system can further include a set of position sensor assemblies, including 2 magnetic and 1 inductive sensor assemblies. So it's they're going full-on steer-by-wire here. And the Cybertruck makes sense, especially in the prototypes that we've seen. The dash position is very open at the bottom, which points to a different sort of steering column or lack thereof. So it could make sense that the Cybertruck ends up with one.
Would you trust this steer-by-wire?
I mean, just in what sense?
I don't know. Just like if you're driving around and you're going 65 miles per hour, and sometimes things don't go so well. Like power steering goes out, and I feel like steer-by-wire could be like, I don't know, a little bit more dangerous. I mean, you could always.
Well, they do have the redundancy of them. I think it's something that people will build confidence into pretty quickly. I feel like. I mean, the thing you always hear with steer-by-wire is people like being scared of like hacking the car.
Right.
Then a hacker could get access to the steering, but there's already that in virtually every car out there. Even though you still have mechanical linkage, you have actuators that control the steering wheel and everything. So on the hacking side of things, I think if you have a concern about that, you should have a concern with basically any car other than, I think the Lada is the only car that is purely mechanical at this point. So in terms of the actual like reliability of the steer-by-wire, I feel like that's something that you can nail pretty well, and you need redundancy though. There's just no way around that. Oh, Tesla updated us this week on the number of Powerwalls installed, and what was that? And it's growing fast. So we've been tracking that. Tesla sporadically released some like milestone for the Powerwalls, and the first one was 100,000 units in 2020. So it took them about 4 years of deployment to get 100,000 units. They got to the second 100,000, so 200,000 total, a year later. So it took them just a year to deploy 100,000. November 2021 was when they reached 250,000. So it took them 6 years from launching the Powerwall to reaching 250,000 units. How much did it take? I mean, how much time did it take to get from the next 250,000 units, so 500,000 total? Less than 2 years, about 18 months. So this is a very good ramp up, and that's thanks partly to the Gigafactory Nevada's ramp up. We learned last year that Tesla was producing as many as 6,500 Powerwalls per week. Of course, that's like the production capacity. Like it's not produced at 100% efficiency all the time. So because it would be a little bit more than 250,000 units a year. But still, at the current efficiency, that's what they're deploying. And it's not just that. It's not just the production, obviously. The Powerwall, I think, I mean, depending on battery supply constraint, which goes up and down all the time, the installation, I would assume, is the biggest bottleneck. But Tesla has been expanding a lot lately to have more third-party certified installers install the Powerwall. So that, I think, has been a big game changer for them.
So what's their, like, if Tesla's global virtual power network, how big is it right now? If they got 500,000 Powerwalls at, what are they, like 7?
Well, yeah, it depends. That's the thing. It depends on which one, because they have several different models with different capacity. But I think 7 is probably a good average. So yeah, that would be 3.5 gigawatt of output.
Gigawatt or?
Yeah, well, I go by gigawatt.
Because it would be kilowatt, then gigawatt, then I think it's terawatts, isn't it?
It's 3.5 million kilowatt.
Right. So it was 100,000. If it was 1,000, it would be gigawatts. Giga.
But I did 500,000 Powerwalls times 7 kilowatts, no?
Yeah, I think it's like,
That would be the power output of the
yeah,
entire fleet. 3.5 gigawatt of output. Makes sense.
all right.
I mean, it's nothing compared to the mega packs, but it's completely distributed, and both advantage the homeowners and through the virtual power plant, which is a great segue into our next our next post here, where Tesla confirmed. Well, actually, Drew Baglino, who commented on Twitter, so it's a rare time that someone other than Elon Musk at Tesla is revealing things about Tesla on Twitter. He confirmed that Tesla is preparing to launch new virtual power plant in Puerto Rico and in Texas. So even revealed the current. We're just talking about the fleet capacity of the Powerwall. Whoop, clicked on this, my mistake. That in Puerto Rico alone, they have 350 megawatts of power output. So it's quite significant for a relatively small territory. Puerto Rico is a territory.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and they need it a lot. Right now, it's basically just making the life of those homeowners that have the Powerwall, or also a lot of business owners to have them. But if you can bend them together, you can actually save the grid on some brownouts like that happen when there's surge in demand. So there's a lot of things that the Tesla can do there in terms of helping the electric grid, and then obviously you can through the virtual power plant, you can compensate these people that bought the Powerwall. And same thing in Texas, but in Texas we knew it was coming because Tesla has a lot of plans for Tesla Electric in Texas, because Tesla has launched a new division there because it's an electricity retailer officially in Texas. And they have their unlimited overnight charging, of course, but now they are moving also to have a virtual power plant. And I would assume that they have also a lot of Powerwall owners in Texas, because last few years, Texas had some issues in both the summer and the winters too, and their electric grid. So it's every place is like you probably see a huge surge in demand in places where they have brownouts or blackouts due to weather, and also due to just like the grid being overloaded. All right, we have a few more news items to discuss, but before that, I want to remind everyone, if you do enjoy the Electrek podcast, if you can give us a like, it takes a second, just smash that like button. Actually, maybe not smash it. I'm not responsible for any damage, but you can just click, works perfectly fine. It takes a second of your time and it helps the show a lot more than you can imagine. You can actually subscribe, hit the notification button. And if you're listening right now to the podcast app, if you can just stop in the ratings of your app, if it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever, Google Podcasts, you can just give us a 5-star rating. If you do enjoy the show, only if you think we deserve it, it helps the show a lot too. So we appreciate it. Thank you. Moving on, the Tesla home charging station has got a little bit of a price increase, and it's starting to add up because there was another price increase earlier this year. So it basically up 30% this year. And Tesla cannot blame inflation too much, because last year it went down a lot too. So I'm not sure what Tesla was trying to do here. If you remember, when Tesla first announced NACS as the standard, they slashed the price of the wall connector. It also came at the time that Tesla also stopped offering the mobile connector as part of every car that they sold. So it created a different landscape when you buy a Tesla. So you needed to buy a mobile connector or a wall connector or both, or whatever the situation. You couldn't just rely on the included mobile connector, which a lot of people would do. Like I still do with my Model 3.
Same.
Yeah. So I don't need much. Of course, Seth and I have a different need than most people. We don't have a commute every day and all that, but still, it's doable. It's completely doable. Now you have to find a different solution, and the wall connector is a very sensible solution, because in terms of pricing, it was already good at $500 when Tesla was selling last year, before the price cut. Because at 48 amps, there's not a lot of 48 amps Wi-Fi capable connectors out there. It starts much higher pricing than that. You have some solution around that price and cheaper solution, but most of them, they cap out at 30 amps, which is also good. Like especially depending on your situation with your electric panels, and also where you want to install the charger, how much cable you're going to need. A lot of times you're good just capping it at 30 amps because it's going to cost you a lot cheaper to installation too. But at the same time, Tesla was making NACS the standard, and now it was getting interesting because there was a big Tesla was also selling its wall connector with a J1772 connector, which is based on the CCS combo. So Tesla was creating like the discrepancy between the CCS and its own charger, which at one point was selling it for $350 in December. So that was like a $200 difference between the exact same chargers with just different connectors. So Tesla was kind of showing the difference there. But now it creeped back up earlier this year to 425, and this week it went back to 475. So I don't know exactly how to read into that. More than $100 increase over the last 6-7 months.
I mean, could it be as simple as that? They're just, their inventory. They just want to lower and keep their inventory at almost zero.
Yeah. You know what else I'm thinking too?
What's that?
Just a little breather for charging station companies, because now with the switch to NACS, obviously all the Tesla connectors are going to be a lot more popular.
Right.
So like literally, like you could be soon buying a Ford and be thinking like, I might as well just buy, like I buy a Mustang Mach-E and I buy a wall connector a Tesla wall connector to go with it. Like that could make sense soon because of the cost. Like if you compare it to J1772 chargers, they're much more expensive. So now, at least with that price up a little bit, it's more competitive. Even though I think even at 475, I think the Tesla wall connector might still be the best option right now, to be honest.
Yeah, the only thing that maybe other people think about is the length of the cable. Some of the other manufacturers have I want to say 25, 30-foot cables.
Oh, this is a 24-foot.
Yeah.
It's decent.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I actually like Tesla's cables. They're usually a little thinner and more flexible than the other manufacturers. Tesla does a good job. Like they, obviously they have been thinking about this a lot longer. They've been building these forever. They have, an order of magnitude more applications. So makes sense.
Yeah, I have a wall connector installed at my parents' house. Has to be 6 years ago at this point. It's still working perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Elon gave us a little bit of an update on Tesla Semi production this week. Not too big of a surprise here. The CEO said that the company doesn't expect to begin producing its new electric semi-truck in larger volume until the end of next year. So that's different than the 50,000 units in 2024 that he talked about before. And when he said that, we were already like, really? Like it didn't sound, even for Elon, it sounded overly optimistic. And this one is actually a bad look for him, I think, because like it's almost sound like when he said that, which was last year when he was about to start, when they were starting production of the truck, he thought like they could ramp up to 50,000 units within 2 years. And now he's backing up to no, actually we won't even start the ramp up until late that year. It's kind of, he wasn't really aware where the program was at. Obviously, Tesla changed its plans a bunch of time with the Tesla Semi production. Electrek first reported that Tesla had a small, low-volume production line and building outside of Gigafactory Nevada in 2022. That, as far as we know, is able to producing max 5 units per week, so it's nothing. And at first, Tesla was thinking of moving production to Texas, to Austin, but earlier this year, they announced that instead they're going to build it in an expansion of Gigafactory Nevada, which makes sense, but the expansion is yet to materialize, so it doesn't make sense that Tesla would ramp up anytime soon. So yeah, if Tesla produced more than like 1,000 truck in 2024, I would be surprised, because it would require the expansion to happen fast, like by the end of this year, and then build that production line throughout 2024 and start producing on a production line, because on the current one you cannot get to 1,000 units a year. But something to keep an eye on, because even though it's not like a big like volume vehicle, like Tesla literally like makes more Model Y in a month than it will ever do in a year with the
So same in like an hour or a day.
yeah,
right now.
maybe even. So I think proportionally, though, for emissions, semi trucks are much bigger contributors. So everyone that you take off the road and you replace by this one, that's a big deal. So
Yep.
for that, so I'm really excited. Like when that ramp up is going to happen, I'm going to be all over it. I'm very happy about that. We also had this week a little bit of tiny little news through another recall of the Tesla Semi. It was a software recall, but still an official one through its details, which confirmed to us that Tesla was now 36 Tesla Semi as of March, and up one from February. So like the production is extremely slow right now, which makes sense, because they're still like testing out the early releases one. So I'm not super surprised by it. All right. Moving on, some exclusive news coming from our own Seth Wintraub. Some a little bit worrying, but it looks like in your report you kind of quenched the worries about Rivian acquiring the company behind the Better Route Planner.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, a Better Route Planner is a really handy tool for routing to cross country. We're going to need a charge, because they have a really good database of chargers, a really good database of how well or how much energy it takes to get from one to another. Lots of different cars, lots of different variables, and a few companies already use them. Polestar 2 has a Better Route Planner built into its system, and so does there's a couple European cars, I think Cupra or something. Anyway, we had gotten word about, I don't know, 3 months ago that Rivian was working with Better Route Planner, and that they were looking to buy them. But it was kind of a anonymous tip. We didn't really have much to go on. Fast forward, there was a guy on Reddit who had a similar thing, and I went kind of down a rabbit hole with him. He told me, who the person was and all the stuff. And then, I kind of got Rivian to, like when you call Rivian and they point, well, when I called the guy, the CEO of ABRP, Bo, his phone number is like on the website. So I was like, hey, Bo, what's going on? He's like, yeah, I can't really talk about that. You got to call Rivian. And I was like, okay, this sounds like something's happening. So when I talked to Rivian, they put me in charge of their European policy guy. So this is all sounding like something's going to happen. Anyway, I got it confirmed, and we ran the story yesterday. My understanding is that they're probably going to announce it within a week. It might even happen like later today, over the weekend, or early next week. And I think, like, we're not at liberty to talk about it, but I think there's going to be more announcements with that. And, there's a lot of stuff going on in the charging space right now. A lot of companies are consolidating on stuff, but I think Rivian wants to become like a leader in the EV space, in terms of like, hey, use our tools, use our chargers. We want to be like a resource for all EV owners, not just Rivian owners. And that's a good way of marketing yourself, getting new customers, perhaps. It sounds like Rivian's going to be sharing its adventure network, so good way to get people into that. And then, there's some precedent in the industry. PlugShare, or the company that owns PlugShare, got bought by EVgo, the charging network, previously. And Yeah, so my understanding is that they're very far along in integrating a better route planner into Rivian's own mapping system. It's not going to replace. It's not going to be like pull out that, put in this, but it's going to use the back end information to route plan for Rivian. And I think Rivian, if I understand their intentions right, I think Rivian wants to kind of give this to other EV makers. So, maybe they make it part of the Rivian app and you can, make it part of CarPlay and Android Auto, which would be ironic because, Rivian wants no part of CarPlay and Android Auto for better or worse. But you could see them, right now, a better route planner is available on the Polestar 2 via Android for automobiles. So it's all kind of questionable, but what they want to do with this. But we've known from the beginning that Rivian wants to be more than just, a electric vehicle manufacturer, and a lot of that aspiration has to do with mapping. They're mapping not just roads but off roads. They want to take all their vehicle data and kind of do what Tesla's done, or you could even say Google has done as well, as using the data they get from their users to build out these robust, up-to-date maps. So all that added together means that Rivian's going to be a bigger player in the general EV world, theoretically, as soon as next week.
Nice. Yeah, if there's anything that comes out that we can officially report, it's going to be on Electrek first. You know it. All right, still on Rivian, there was some news today about the should I say shift to production of from R1T to R1S, or a more focus on R1S production versus the R1T, as Rivian sees strong demand for it. So it came out of Rivian CFO Claire McDonough from that she was giving an interview at the Deutsche Bank. I think it was like a conference. Well, yeah, a economic environment conference, and she basically explained that the focus is because the focus had been primarily on the R1T. Do they split their production and deliveries?
Yeah, I mean
result?
that's what she said. She was like, we can do all R1Ts, or we can do all R1Ss. We can kind of mix it up depending on what our customers are demanding. I will say it does, like, there's a lot of signs pointing to Rivian running low on demand for R1Ts. The time period it takes to get an R1T is now like 2 weeks or less. They're having that event tomorrow, I believe, in Normal, where you basically just show up and you get an R1T. If obviously you have to buy it and everything, but it's kind of like a car dealer kind of experience, although there's like one in the whole US. And it sounds like from this that they're switching over to R1Ss. I will say, so this is getting into the personal stuff. I had a R1S that was scheduled to be delivered from October to December, and I got the call yesterday saying, "Hey, configure your R1S." So I don't know. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months early. Or 4 or 5 months early, which is kind of weird for Rivian to underestimate it by that much. I saw somebody else on Reddit or I think it might have Twitter, that also had an early R1S call, but I also, like, I had made a kind of a I'm driving a R1S loaner right now, and I was at the thing saying, "Hey, why are you going through all the trouble of getting me a loaner when you could just deliver my vehicle?" And also, "Hey, I would like to drive a Rivian to the Electrek Formula Sun event in Kansas. Like, since you can't get my vehicle to me, can I drive a loaner out there?" And they were like, let's see what we can do." So I don't know if I'm getting a favor here, which, to Rivian's credit, like, they've given us nothing, like zero. I mean, you had to order in on day one, Fred, and you're still not you haven't gotten your truck yet, but that's, I think,
I mean, I have my configuration, and they can, like, they don't. Well, that's basically because they don't have a service center in Quebec, though. But
right.
You would think they would have one by now because they have some in Canada already, just not in
Right.
Quebec. There was some job postings though in Quebec, so it looks like they're working toward it. But the job posting is there until the building a service center is a little bit more than that. So, for me, it's looking like I'm gonna have to cancel it and get the Cybertruck because it's getting like too close to it a little bit.
Interesting.
And then I'm getting there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll have a
They could have.
Rivian,
What
you
I'm
have a
saying is like they
Cybertruck.
could have gotten me if they like delivered it sooner, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
But that'll give us an opportunity to do like a tug of war with my
Yeah.
Rivian and your Cybertruck. So
Perfect.
and you know what's funny is that you know, when I got the Rivian, I was like, this is kind of nice, but we don't go off-roading like super often. And like for our family, like I think aerodynamics would probably be a higher priority. So the Volvo EX90 is kind of like, that seems like a pretty good, you know, trade for R1S. And I thought that was coming at the end of this year. So I was like, yeah, maybe I'll get rid of the R1S thing. But my wife was like, no, we're not. We're keeping the R1S, and we're actually getting this color and not that color. So my wife is now the R1S owner, I guess. And not, you know, I'm
You're gonna be
I'm
stuck with a poor Model Y. Woo-hoo.
no, I'm gonna have the Chevy Bolt
Oh, that's right. That's it. Yeah. Then
until
you're
my
right.
kid takes it. Yeah.
All right, we have one more news to discuss, and then we're jumping into the comments section. So if you guys have any question for us, any new subject in the AV world that you want us to discuss, or any question about what we did discuss today, put them in the comment section right now. We're going to get to it in just a few seconds, because the last piece of news is another great one. The GM is sort of walking back its promise to change the battery pack to do battery pack replacement over the fire risk recall that happened a few years ago. Now they're doing a software diagnostic instead. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so when they came up with the solution for the recall, all 2017 to 2019 batteries were going to be replaced, but they kind of left the wording open a little bit, where they said that bad modules in the 2020 to 2022 models would be replaced. Modules, not full battery packs.
Mm-hmm.
But over the past over a year, they've been replacing full battery packs. And it doesn't have to do with, you know, it doesn't seem to have to do with anything in particular, just like which dealers can do it first and had the room to do it. So this news comes out. People have been buying and selling bolts with the expectation that they would be getting a new battery pack. You know, I kind of get GM's side on this because, like, they said like very small percentage of the 2020 to 2022 bolts had bad battery packs, and they didn't say what percent. So is that 0.001 or 0.1 or 20%? I don't know. But they said a very small percentage had the problem. I offered, you know, in my great, you know, skill set of like, hey, why not get out in front of it, communicate better, offer a warranty like you did get it replaced. So like, you know, if you bought a 2020 and this replacement program started in 2022, offer a warranty starting in 2022. And then the other thing is like this diagnostic software requires a Bolt owner to continue to only charge to 80% and only discharge to like 20% for another, I think 10,000, 6,000 or 10,000 miles. So it's kind of crappy. Like they should at least give these Bolt owners that are affected, like, you know, free OnStar and app usage and all, you know, all the other like little stuff. But no, they just like, nope, sorry, you're not getting that.
Yeah, like you should have thought about it before buying a boat.
Yeah, but before buying a GM car, you knew what you're getting into.
Yeah, it's just not great. It's similar to what Jaguar is doing, though. It's basically a copy pasted of what Jaguar is doing with the I-Pace recall just now. So
yeah,
I don't know if GM saw that and it was like, hey, if they can do that, we got to do that too. Or if
maybe LG came up with that and was like passing it out to all their vendors.
That's probably a better theory right there. All right, that's all for the news this week. We can jump into the comments section.
All right. Peter says, which is worse, Toyota saying they will have a 900-mile electric vehicle by 2027? They won't. Or Elon saying we will have full self-driving in 2 weeks? We won't.
I mean, it never said 2 weeks. That was like an update. It wasn't full self-driving.
Right.
But I get the joke. Good one, Peter.
All right. Yeah, and Aptera. So we're having the Formula Sun event in Kansas. We know that Aptera is going to join us. At least last time we checked, they are. So if that's another added bonus, if you want to go to Kansas and see a bunch of solar racers, you're also going to get a chance to at least check out the Aptera. I don't know if they're going to be giving rides and drives and stuff, but that should be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Daniel DeYoung question. Does Seth now think Cybertruck looks good and might be a hit with the wraps? You guys have differing opinions on likelihood of success. It's funny you asked that because I tweeted after a long hiatus, I now am liking the Cybertruck design again after seeing the wrap. So
it's weird. You're not alone with that. Other people like changing their mind with the Cybertruck both ways. It's strange. It's such a polarizing
it is
design that a lot
and
of
it's
people
polarizing in my own brain. It's not even like it's not even like more than one person.
I mean, it does something weird to the brain because the CGI in real life CGI thing is no joke. Like when you see it, I mean, when you see it in person too. Yeah, when you see it in person, it's strange to look at it. Like when I saw it at the Peterson Museum, it's still there. By the way, if you're in LA, you can go see the Cybertruck at the Peterson Museum. I'm pretty sure it's still there. It's an experience.
Yeah, and I wonder if the wrapping thing is going to be something like you accessorize your car, like maybe you have a winter wrap and a summer wrap, or it's like a fashion thing. Yeah, it's very expensive. But like, you could see that being a thing, especially as wraps get better and cheaper and whatever.
Yeah.
Tesla revolutionized the wrap business. All right. Tony Rossi, I'm new to EVs. Is dealer markup above MSRP pretty common for cars with closed reservations, i.e. Chevy Blazer EV? Sadly, I think it is pretty common with Chevy Blazers or anything Chevy. They don't really have control over their dealers, and their dealers are kind of just going hog wild.
I like what Ford is doing on that front. Like, right, they try to rein that down. They see that they see it coming. They see it happening. So there's a few automakers they have like Seth said, they don't have like the final price is between the dealership and the owner, but they have some kind of incentive or other way around, like punishment that they can do. Like they can mess with their allocations of vehicles if they get reports that they are being a little bit excessive with that. But then even that, like anything over MSRP is frustrating to a buyer. Like it's like, this is the manufacturer's suggested price. Why am I paying more than that? Because the dealership wants to.
Right.
So yeah, this is even though we have plenty to say about Tesla's own pricing strategy, obviously, it's still at the very least, at least you're paying the same price as the next guy. Right. Well, literally the next guy, maybe not like the next day, but the next guy.
Yeah, and not only do they just put like markups on, but they'll put in stuff like, hey, we replace the floor mats, that's $500. We put in like some bogus like security system, that's another $500. Yeah. So
yeah, I'm glad that I don't have to deal with dealerships.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say the Rivian experience hasn't been too bad in that respect. All right, question. Shanghai has approved for the land for Tesla expansion, but Beijing has not. This is holding Tesla back from the small car in China. Mexico and maybe India will be a workaround. What do you think?
Well, they already said that Mexico, I think, is going to produce the next generation car. Now that could be the robotaxi, that could be the cheap car. We don't know, cheaper, I should say. But yeah, I think Elon was pushing for that though when he recently visited China. Apparently, that was one of the issues that we're hearing that he was trying to resolve. Because there is this little plot of land that's just a few kilometers away from the existing factory, because Tesla looks like it's running out of space right now in Gifted Shanghai. Pretty full.
All right. Richard Cool says, Fred, nice job explaining the latest EV charging developments on Fast Money. Are you doing any other TV?
I've been saying no a lot of the times to TV spots like that, and to be honest, like I didn't like it that much too. Like this time is just it's so short. You don't really have to explain everything. I mean, at least with Fast Money, they're not hiding like their purpose of the show at all. It's like, how does this affect the stocks? Like that's what they do. And I do like I play on the stock market and whatnot. So this is the kind of things I like. So I did say yes for this one because I think it's interesting. But for the most part, when they want me to jump on the show and explain a very complex issue in like 3-minute segments, it's like, it's not great. So I don't do that much. I love podcasts more. Movie, we're doing a movie, so like that's
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know how much I can say about that. So, but long form stuff I perform better at.
All right. Daniel DeYoung, question. Do you think the recent developments justify the rapid recovery of the share price, charging price increases, Model 3 refresh, and Cybertruck?
I don't know. I don't know about that one. Yeah. I don't know how much you can. It's just momentum or like that. This charging, this NACS stuff happening, because I don't know how. I did post a report today of like Morgan Stanley trying to price the Supercharger network into the stock, which was an interesting. An interesting exercise, but obviously, like he has a scenario at like $12 a stock contribution and one at 78, so it's like it's very wide. But Elon apparently today said that he's been saying that a lot, that Tesla stock, it's autonomy that's driving the stock. It's the momentum of autonomy and everything. And obviously, there's on the stock market right now, there's kind of an AI bubble happening.
Right.
So Elon throwing that in and keep repeating that Tesla is an AI company and all that. It's probably that creating that momentum. But I actually disagree with that. Like I don't think that if Tesla solves autonomy, yes, obviously, like it's going to be the biggest contributor to Tesla stock. But I don't want him to focus on that too much, because what about selling? Okay, let's say that he doesn't believe that Tesla can sell 20 million cars a year without autonomy. That might be the case. But I'm fairly confident Tesla, if they just keep ramping up production and the other automakers are lagging behind on the production capacity, with the shift in mindset of consumers that buy new cars towards electric vehicles, I think they could send 10 million a year, and that's huge. There's no other automakers doing that. That's like giant business. And then you own the charging part behind it. You had the energy part behind it, not just the storage, but the virtual power plants and stuff. Like Tesla is like in a very nice position right now. Autonomy is more like, hopefully it happens, and if it does, yes, I mean it's $1 trillion company tomorrow and a $3 trillion company within the next 3 years after the autonomy is solved. But it's a big if.
Yeah.
If.
I also think that part of the thing is the NACS charging network. It looks on paper like GM and Ford are giving up on Electrify America, and they kind of are. And if Tesla can kind of run away with the charging business of charging all EVs in the US and theoretically beyond, like it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to make money, not just from charging, but also from like, what goes on around charging. You have the whole, gas station convenience store model.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and right now Tesla can make a charger for a fraction of what it takes EA or EVgo to do. They're on just a different scale. They have like, the cables are shorter. There's way less technology involved. It's all done on the back end via apps. They just really, they're ahead. They've been doing this longer. They have, they're at a different scale. So I get why the price is going up. It does make sense.
Yeah, but on the charging side of things, so I was doing some math earlier,
Mhm.
and it's hard to like so the Morgan Stanley math, for example, they made it too simple where they just like put a percentage of mileage in the US that is electric, and then they give a market share to Tesla. But the market share of Tesla Supercharger on the total EV mileage is going to be relatively small. The market share of DC fast charging is going to be huge. I think, like most likely majority, maybe like close to monopoly level. Like I don't know exactly, but like
Yeah,
it's going to be
but most
between.
people are charging at home.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So like I don't know how big it is. So I kept trying like to figure out like because I don't think the Morgan Stanley model just works. So what I did find is the last time you remember Tesla used to have these superchargers map, and they would tell you in real time how many cars are charging a superstation all around the world, and they give you the exact kilowatt hour and everything. So the last time Tesla had that was 2019. And at that time, that map told us that Tesla was delivering 72 gigawatt hour a month of electricity through the supercharger network. That was in 2019. So I think right now it's in the hundreds a month for sure. So I can see Tesla easily being at, let's say, like 500 relatively soon, 500 gigawatt hour a month. Like it's not a wild like prediction or anything like that. If they were at 72 in 2019, the fleet grows fast. Like the 2019 fleet is probably at least less than half than it is right now. But then you had now non-Tesla EVs and all that. It's going really fast. So at 500 gigawatt hour a month at 30 cents, which is low, like that would assume that they lower the price. That's a $150 million a month of revenue. So that's a $1.8 billion business. It's not it's huge. It's a
Yeah.
billion-dollar business, but it's not. It's for Tesla. It's not a game changer for the valuation. That's what I'm saying,
Right.
and that's global. I'm talking about.
Right.
But 500 is probably low. Like if you want to go like 2030, it might be 1 terawatt a month. I don't know. It's hard to guess. Like I'm working on the last time we had the actual numbers of supercharger. So yeah.
I would actually say, like, I feel like Tesla's been doubling, almost not doubling, but close to doubling every year since 2019. So 20, 21, 22, and part of 23.
It might be already at 500 some months. It's like it's cyclical also. Like it's obviously
Right.
cyclical, like the charging. So yeah, it might already be at 500. I don't know. That's the problem. That's the guess, because it's hard to determine what's the percentage of DC fast charging in
Right.
the EV community right now. And also, I think it's going to be higher, the percentage further down as we move from like right now. And it's more people that have garages, that have driveways, but eventually you can have like some city parking folks. That more of them are going to go EVs, and then there's going to be better charging solution for them. That's probably going to involve the supercharger network, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, important to check out. All
All
right.
Have a few more questions.
Few more questions. Nico D is very talkative. Cybertruck reminds me of Homer Simpson's ideal car design.
Oh yeah, I remember
so
that.
not a fan. Greg Poland will take a Cybertruck in red. And the last question we have, Tony Rossi question. In your experience, what clues are there to watch for as far as when car makers are ready to be delivering cars? Like generally after your reservation moves to an order picking options?
Well, it depends on the automakers. Like those that use the dealership network, obviously, you're going to get a call from your dealer at one point. If you have a reservation with them and they move the information, they send it to the dealers and all that, depending on the system. And it depends on the automaker and how they deal with their dealership. But normally it will move to the dealers when you're getting close to delivery. Then you have Tesla, Rivian, Lucid, all those direct to consumers. And that depends on now. What we're seeing from Tesla a lot and from Rivian now recently is like they're moving more onto like a new inventory type of system, so we can move fast, just like what happened with Set this week. thought he was getting a car in 5 months. Now he's getting it like in a week. So signs to look out for is the question. I mean, read Electrek. So if it's a new vehicle program and you want to be on top of when the new vehicle is going to come to production, you can read Electrek. But for companies like, if you're waiting for like a Lucid or a Rivian, you have to look out for when they have a delivery service center in your region, because they don't deliver until they have that.
All right.
All right. Well, that was it for us this week, guys. Thanks a lot for listening to the show. If you do enjoy the show, you can give us a like, a subscribe, hit the notification bell, give us a 5-star review, obviously only if you enjoyed the show. And we're going to see you same times next week. Bye-bye.